Financial markets are all about education and experience. Talking to industry professionals can therefore enrich everyone's journey to become financially literate, which is one of the core goals of Investro. Hello and welcome to another Investro podcast. We have a very special guest today, somebody who's actually recently made history by bringing the first major Bitcoin-only conference to the UK. Yes, he certainly is a Bitcoin advocate and talking about the ideas of adoption and also thinking about how it can benefit society as a whole. It is, of course, the CEO of the Bitcoin Collective, Jordan Walker. Jordan, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to sit down and talk all about Bitcoin with you.
Very nice, very nice. I guess the first thing I want to ask really is maybe you could introduce yourself just a little bit more and maybe you could give us 2 or 3 sentences just to describe the Bitcoin Collective.
Yeah, no worries. So I am the CEO and co-founder of the Bitcoin Collective, and as you said, I like how you put it, we made history and we ran the UK's first major Bitcoin conference in Edinburgh 2 months ago. And the Bitcoin Collective was created to produce educational content about Bitcoin, and we aim to highlight the problems with our money today and offer a solution through educating people about the fundamentals of Bitcoin and inspiring them to reimagine the world under a fair monetary system.
That makes complete sense. Yeah, no, I think that's basically the grasp I had as well when I was reading more about the Bitcoin Collective as a whole. And I mean, I just wanted to ask as well, who are the actual members in the Bitcoin Collective, sort of the main members you have?
So we've got there's a team of 7 of us now. And then, so that's the team that run the Bitcoin Collective. And then, I mean, you could say all the Bitcoiners in the UK are part of the collective, and everyone that came to the conference is then part of the collective because they're going out and taking action and trying to raise awareness for Bitcoin in the UK.
And taking it back to when the conference was, obviously it was a little bit of a time ago now, sort of a month or so ago since the conference, and going back even further when it first was being organised, I mean, where did the idea come from to actually first put on the event? Was it some sort of eureka moment, or is it a long time in the planning?
So I'll take you way back. So where it all really started was about 2 years ago. And I'd been in cryptocurrency and I'd been investing in cryptocurrency, and then the pandemic hit and I didn't have anything to do. So I was sitting in my house, and me and my co-host, Jim Duffy, we decided, let's just start a podcast and talk about cryptocurrency as a whole and just educate ourselves and take people on that journey with us through the education process. So we started a podcast which was called The Crypto Standard. And as we went through or down the rabbit hole of cryptocurrency, a lot of people like to say, we realized that Bitcoin was actually the one that we should be focusing on. And I'll get into why later on in our chat. But earlier this year, it's crazy to actually say that, it's still this year, we went full on Bitcoin and we changed the name of our podcast to the Bitcoin Collective, and the company, the Bitcoin Collective, was then formed. And yeah, it kind of was I don't know if I can swear, but an F-it moment. And we just floated it on the podcast. We've built up quite a lot of listeners by this point, and we just started talking to each other, and we're like, what happens if we did put on a conference in the UK? It's not really been done at this scale yet. And we were always talking about America America are doing this, America are doing that. They've got this conference, they've got that conference. and we are a UK podcast, and we're like, we should do something here. So yeah, March of this year, that's when we announced that we were going to push on and actually try and pull off this conference.
Wow, and what happened? What was the sort of reaction of your colleagues, your family, and your friends when you told them you're going to sort of take on this project?
Well, friends, I'd probably say they think I'm a little crazy. They thought I was a little crazy anyway. But to try and pull off a conference in a matter of months at the scale that we were trying to pull it off, the size of it we were trying to pull it off. Yeah, and then family were very excited. I mean, that's to be expected because they understand Bitcoin already. Obviously with me in the family, and then my co-host is actually my brother-in-law. So to have two big Bitcoiners in the family, it rubs off. Let's just say Christmas dinners, Bitcoin gets talked about. And then the last one I think you said was the wider, so like the Bitcoin world essentially, and what was their reaction. And this is where it gets tricky because it was tough. It was very tough, and I saw almost the dark side of social media, because we'd come from being the Crypto Standard podcast to then changing to be the Bitcoin Collective, to then very suddenly being, we're going to put on a conference about Bitcoin. So there's a big difference between Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies. So a lot of the Bitcoin world and community thought that maybe we were just getting into Bitcoin to make money out of it and put on this event to try and use Bitcoin to just, make money for ourselves. So there was a small group of Bitcoiners that made it very tough on social media, and it pushed me off Twitter actually, and I was like, I don't want this negativity, but amazingly and luckily enough, we had a lot of the top Bitcoin advocates, I would say, around the world rooting for us and fighting back on Twitter, and just like give them a chance and let's see if they can pull this off. And I mean, this was just a small group of people, but it gets exaggerated on social media, and that's why I say I saw the dark side of social media. But saying that, it's a small group of people, and a lot of the community got behind us, and now it's a whole different story, which we'll also get into.
Thank you, Jordan. And there was just, I wanted to really ask as well, what happened with the first people that you had sort of committed to doing the event? Did you have some people said, yes, Jordan, I'm definitely going to do it? And who were they?
Yeah, so I tell this story quite a lot, and I actually told it at the conference, and I tried to make it resonate throughout the conference as well, because these group of people that helped make this happen, they mean a lot to the success of the conference. So we have 5 main people that we put the question out to. So these are guests that we had on our podcast at the Crypto Standard, and once we'd had that moment of let's put on a conference, we went out to these 5 people that we'd had as guests on our podcast and said, what would you think if we put on this conference? So these 5 people were Greg Foss, Lawrence Lepard, James Lavish, Natalie Brunel, and Jeff Booth. And I owe so much to them because we put the question out to them and they all said, definitely. We were coming 100%, and we will not charge you anything. We just want to be there. We want to help build awareness and help adoption in the UK. So going out to them and them saying yes, that's where the snowball started. Because once you say that you've got these 5 people and you go to other potential speakers, then you say, yes, I've got X, Y, Z, and they're like, oh, wow, okay, maybe I will come. And that's where the snowball started. So it started off with 5 people, very small, and it kind of snowballed from there. And then from a sponsorship side, I went out to a company in the Isle of Man called Coin Corner. And during this Twitter, the dark side of Twitter that I was seeing, I went to them and I said, are you up for this? Are you up for helping? And they said, yes, we've got your back. And I always remember that call with the founder and director of marketing, so Danny and Molly. And they said, yes, we've got your back. And it just went on from there to grow arms and legs, let's just say.
Yeah, that's amazing, the support that you sort of gathered along the way, I guess. And as you say, it's a snowball effect of what happened. I saw a show reel and there was like an army of Bitcoiners walking through Edinburgh for your conference with the bagpipes going and everything. It was amazing. We'll touch on that in a second as well. But I just wanted to check, who was the conference actually for? Was it for sort of businesses? Was it for individuals, charities, sort of advanced users? Or who was it aimed at?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, because there's a common saying in Bitcoin, and it's like Bitcoin is for all. So it's hard to put on a conference with a balance. Finding the right balance was very tricky. And if you think just on an individual level, we're talking about money here. The conference was all about money. The problem with our current monetary system and a potential solution. And money affects everyone. It affects everyone in their day-to-day lives. So it was for everyone. And we're talking at such a fundamental level that it could touch businesses, it could touch charities, it could touch advanced Bitcoiners or just someone new wanting to get into the space. But we were targeting a lot of beginners to come, because that's important to raise awareness, to grow Bitcoin adoption in the UK. You need new people to understand it. So I'd built the conference because one of my roles was building how the days would flow. So it was very important to me to start at the beginning, like what is money, and educating people on what is the problem that we've got here, because you're not going to look for a solution if you don't know that there's a problem. That just doesn't make sense. So you have to make sure that everyone is on the same page, that this is the problem that we've got today, and here's the solution that we are advocating for here. So beginners was a big target for us, but in a bear market, to get people excited about Bitcoin is very hard, because a lot of people just go straight to, this is the price. The price is down. But we're talking about the fundamentals here. So it was a hard sell to beginners, I'll just say that.
Yeah, you picked a hell of a time to do it, didn't you? Yeah, I think, as you say, get people on board now, and it's quite an achievement. And but as you say, it's about the fundamentals, about getting people to actually understand how it works from the ground up. Can I just check, how many people or organisations and speakers did you have involved? If there are any sort of numbers you can give us?
Yeah, so speaker-wise, we ended up having 30 speakers in the end, which it still blows my mind that we actually had that amount of speakers. In terms of attendees, we had 500 people, and organisations, there was a lot there, maybe just in attendance and sponsoring or exhibiting. I don't have a set number on that, because there was such a variety, and there's just a large variety. But in terms of organisations, we did have representatives from Westminster, so the UK government. we had asset managers, so P1 Asset Management. We had Fidelity, which is the fourth largest asset manager in the world. We had Coutts Bank, we had Charity Water, Save the Children. There was so many organizations there, and that was the beautiful thing, is they're from so many different industries as well, coming together to learn about Bitcoin and how Bitcoin can affect each of their businesses, even though they're maybe opposite ends of the spectrum. That was just a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, that's a really great thing, isn't it? The fact you've got people from all over the place, all doing different things, and they're all coming together in a sort of unity with Bitcoin. That brings me on to my next question. Why is it Bitcoin only?
Yeah, this is a great question, and something that a lot of people, or it's very misunderstood, that a lot of people will put Bitcoin in the same basket as all the other cryptocurrencies. So there's, I don't know now, I think there's over 21,000 cryptocurrencies out there as we speak. And Bitcoin is actually very different. It's the original one. So Bitcoin was built in 2009, off the back of the 2008 crash, to fix the core problem, which was our money. So, and you can see that today, like the money we're using. And just, for me, being in the UK, we've got a cost of living crisis. Young people trying to get on the housing ladder. It's near on impossible now. And it's just not the world I would like to live in. So identifying the problem as being our money. And why is that a problem? Because we've got human interference. We've got human greed. We've got politics. We've got corruption that comes into our money because it can be manipulated. So if you look at, when I say manipulated, I mean like the supply. So how much, let's just use the pound because I'm in the UK at the moment. How much pounds are in circulation can jump up like billions within a click of a button, and that can be done through a central bank. So that's what I mean by human interference. A group of people, a small group of people, can decide that we're going to inject a lot more money into the system, which means that your average person has just lost their purchasing power, and the value of their pounds in their bank account doesn't buy as much in the world anymore. And I don't see this as fair. So this is why I come back to the core problem, and the only one that I see fixes that is Bitcoin, because it is the only truly decentralized one with no human interference. It cannot be manipulated. There's no greed that can go on it. It's a set of rules, and you have to stick by those rules. It doesn't have, if we look at all the other cryptocurrencies, a lot of them will have VC backings. And that's a red flag for me, because VCs are in it to make money. And the money we use today should not be benefiting any one party. And a lot of cryptocurrencies also have CEOs and marketing teams behind them. I don't think money should have that either. So picking the one decentralized one was important, and that's why we are Bitcoin only, and we won't ever go outside of that, really. Like, we see what the problem is, and Bitcoin is that solution for us.
That really makes sense, and I guess that was that the sort of main message and sort of topic you wanted to get across to the audience at the conference?
Yeah, 100%. It was, yeah, as I said at the start, like there is such a big misunderstanding between cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, and I've been through that process. Don't get me wrong, like I have I started out the Crypto Standard podcast, as we talked about. And I've just come to learn that Bitcoin is the one that you should be focusing on. So that was the message that we were trying to do. It's not saying that all other cryptocurrencies are bad. It's just saying that they shouldn't be put in the same basket as being a form of money for the globe. A fair form of money, anyway, let's say. So yeah, that was the main reason.
No, that's great. I mean, I actually read your open letter that you sent to the Scottish government a little while ago, sort of reiterating these points and even talking about Bitcoin-backed Scottish independence and just really explaining how it could be beneficial with the adoption sort of connected with the UK. I'd just like to ask, have you had a response from that letter at all?
I haven't, no. I've had a lot of response from organizations and individuals reading it and getting inspired by it. And to be honest, I wrote it and part of me wanted a response, but the other part kind of knew that there wasn't going to be a response because you're talking about a whole system change, which takes power away from the government a little. So I didn't expect a response, really. Although, saying that, we did have representatives there from Westminster. So we had Dr. Lisa Cameron at our conference who went up on stage and spoke on stage. So I'm not sure if she's read it, but hopefully it's made an impact that maybe I just haven't seen. And it's just been people reading it and getting inspired to learn more about Bitcoin and how it could be incorporated into Scotland or the UK, if Scotland was to go independent. As being Scottish, and I'm seeing a big drive for an independence, so breaking away from the UK and not being part of the United Kingdom, then I don't know what we would do to finance the country and what currency we would use. There's a lot of talk about going on to the euro, which I see as a dangerous game because I watched the ECB, which is the European Central Bank, fairly closely, and a lot of what they do I don't agree with. So yeah, it scares me a little, and that's one of the reasons that I wrote this, is I can see a potential path how Bitcoin could benefit an independent Scotland.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think you made lots of really great points in it and sort of reiterating for people who are unaware of the 21 million sort of cap there is on Bitcoin. And that's why it's sort of potentially valued as a better sort of asset class to actually have than gold. And lots of other points you made within it. I know it was doing the rounds quite a lot in social media, and I think people have been definitely taking note of it. Even if you don't get an actual response from it, I think you're getting a response online anyway. So I think that's good. Taking it back to the conference, can I just ask, were you using Bitcoin or Lightning Network payments at the conference, and were they used at all?
Yes, they were. It was thanks to Coin Corner, so one of our sponsors. So they were our payment provider for Bitcoin. And yeah, they actually done stats at the end of it, which was really cool to see. So it was like how many Bitcoin transactions were done over the week and how many Bitcoin were exchanged. And it was really nice to see. So there was 284 transactions over the Bitcoin Lightning Network over the 2 days, which is really good to see, really good, but it's not as much as I would have liked. I would have liked a lot more, but we put in a lot of work to get merchants or businesses around the venue accepting Bitcoin. But as I said, getting people to learn about Bitcoin, the fundamentals of it, when the price has just come down 60%, is very hard. So we were out there. There was a group of us out there and trying to onboard merchants and businesses to use Bitcoin. But I mean, this is just the start. Bitcoin's so new that you're gonna come into stumbling blocks and challenges that maybe people just don't quite understand it yet. So it's just easing them in. So yeah, in the moral of the story, there was Bitcoin payments used throughout the conference and even into the wider area. Like there was a coffee shop around the corner that you could go and buy your coffee with Bitcoin, and that was an important aspect because we had, I think it was 9% of the attendees were beginners. So it's important to show them how Bitcoin can be used in your day-to-day life, because a lot of people just see it as this investment, and you just look at the screen and the chart goes up and down. And that's not really what it is. It is a form of money that you can use day to day. So having that, where you could go out, you could go around the corner to this coffee shop and buy a flat white and pay for it using Bitcoin, was a real eye-opener for a lot of people at the conference that were new to it. And yeah, giving them that real-world use case and utility actually was amazing to see. And I did see it from a few people, and they were like, wow, and it was so fast as well. So it's an amazing feeling to see it when it kind of clicks for people, and it's like, oh, okay, I can see how this could fit in to the world now.
Yeah, that's really, really true, isn't it? I think a lot of people just don't associate it with actually being able to buy something, and it's something online, especially for beginners. They don't really understand it, and it takes a long time. There's a lot of education that goes into figuring out how Bitcoin can actually be used on a sort of worldly scale in your day to day, and actually going and buying something with it, like a coffee, is certainly a good way to see it. So, in your eyes, was the conference a success?
Massively. So whenever I get asked this, I wish I had written down like my perfect scenario 5 months before the conference, and just written a list of what things I would like to have gone well and what it would look like. And the majority of that list would have been ticked off with the conference that we pulled off, which is an amazing feeling, especially because we only had 5 months to pull this thing off. It was such a quick turnaround, and the odds were kind of against us, which was a good feeling because it drove us to actually push harder, because there was people doubting that we could do it in this time scale. So to be able to pull it off and it would be such a success was a great feeling. And I think I don't put enough emphasis on the ripple effect that the conference actually has. So not just the 2 days that we had, but we're all about educating and inspiring people. So inspiring people to take action. And I think that's the bit that I underplay because I don't see it as much, because I was there for the 2 days, and then people go off and they're inspired. They want to take action. So I've heard a few stories come back over the past few weeks of a lot of merchants now accepting Bitcoin. And I've heard of partnerships formed because people met at this conference. I've heard Bitcoin articles being written, educational Bitcoin content being formed, and you just think like the knowledge that's passed on to maybe family members, to friends, from people that went to this conference is actually massive. And there's not enough I just downplay that a lot in my head, but when I get these stories come to me, I'm like, wow, this is phenomenal what has happened. And there's so much that I just won't see as well that's happened behind the scenes. So in that respect, then yeah, it's definitely been a success in my eyes anyway.
No, I certainly think it has been a momentous achievement. I see you're bringing people together just to have a further dialogue, if nothing more. And so it's having people like that as connectors and profound people, as I say, you meet over the years that bring people together. And maybe this event triggered some other sort of connections that have brought forth some more terms in terms of what Bitcoin can do for the world. Thanks a lot, Jordan. There was one other question that I did want to ask you. Was there anything that particularly worried you when you were setting up the event, or any nightmare that you had with the preparation?
Yeah, I think the biggest struggle for us was being such a small team and trying to pull off the work of what should have been a very large team to pull off a major conference in the UK. So I'd say that was the biggest struggle, is just like trying to spin all of these plates at once, and yeah, just picking up lots of different jobs and learning as we're going as well was a real struggle. And in terms of a nightmare, I think the biggest nightmare was setting up a bank account. Ironically, it's very, very difficult to set up a bank account if your company name has Bitcoin in it or you do anything Bitcoin related. So we got rejected by a number of banks for just being related to cryptocurrency or doing something in cryptocurrency, even though we weren't trading it or doing anything like that. We were just educating. Still, we got rejected by a lot of banks, and likewise with insurance companies as well. So that was a stressful period.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it sounds like it. And what's the sort of biggest teachable moments, whether sort of positive or negative, that the whole process has brought you?
Yeah, I would say, because I've been in cryptocurrency for so long, like 5 years, but to actually be fully Bitcoin, it's only been about 1 year. So the biggest teachable moment for me was off the back of the conference, is the power of the community and what you can do, like when you come together as a community. And Bitcoiners, people in Bitcoin want to help each other, and like we're all on the same mission to change the monetary system. So that's a powerful thing, and everyone just wants to help. And this was something that I hadn't really seen before, and especially coming from cryptocurrency, like it's the opposite. It's like if you're in whatever cryptocurrency of one of the 21,000 out there, it's all about, or a lot of it is about the money and how much money you're going to make. Whereas it's very different in Bitcoin, and I feel like it's more community based, and that was a huge learning point for me and eye opening as well.
Thank you very much, Jordan. There was just one other thing I'd like to ask. What are the plans for yourself and the Bitcoin Collective in the future? Do you have any other events sort of planned now?
Yes, we do. We're actually moving to London for 2023. So we're going to put on the Bitcoin Collective Conference in London. The dates are still to be announced. So we're working very hard on that and just making it bigger and raising more awareness. And I think London is a good place to do that. And it will attract maybe more people to actually come and learn about it. So that's one thing that we're doing. And then, as I was talking about, the community there is such a big aspect of Bitcoin. So we are looking and we are starting to work more with the community and help the community with what they need to then go out and take action. And actually spread awareness of Bitcoin. And then finally, we are also working with B2B, so business to business. We're working with a few institutions to educate them on Bitcoin as well, because that's an important aspect, is to come from the ground up. So Bitcoin is a grassroots movement, and that's super important to help the community spread awareness, but it's also important to come from the top down. So this is from government level, institution level, to educate them as well on what is Bitcoin, because all the power's held at the top at the moment, which is not very fair, but it's important to educate those at the top and those making a decision, because then once you can educate them on what the fundamentals of Bitcoin are, they've got more power to spread this message wider.
That's very well put, Jordan. Yeah, I think spreading awareness and education seems to be you're in the thick of it, really, and doing any more, and it seems to be growing with it going to London as well next year. I think it's an absolutely momentous achievement. Is there anything else, though, that you'd like to mention while we have you?
I would just say, I'd say a shout out to everyone that helped get this thing off the ground. And when I say a shout out, I mean people that came to the conference, the speakers, the volunteers, my team as well, that helped get this thing off the ground. And there's a real movement now in the UK around Bitcoin. So if you are listening, go out and learn about it. Just dip your toes in and see what this is all about. There's Bitcoin meetups around the world now, and there might be one in your local town, in your local city, and it would be a really good idea just to go to one of these and talk to some of the people that have been in Bitcoin for a long time, and you can learn a lot from people and just being there physically at an event. I think that's a powerful thing, is we've kind of lost that with the pandemic, is everything, or a lot of things now are virtually, but actually being at a physical event and feeling the energy and learning from people there from all walks of life is so important. You can take so much more from it. So that's one thing I would say, is just anyone's listening, go and dip your toes into Bitcoin, and it's a long rabbit hole, but it's well worth it.
I like your phrase, dip your toes into Bitcoin. I can see it on a t-shirt somewhere. Yeah, no, I think that's some great final words. It's been a pleasure to have you on, and I wish you the best of luck with all of your future endeavours.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for everybody who's been listening today, and please remember to go to investro.com, where you can sign up for that newsletter to receive all the latest financial information every week. It will come directly to your email. You can also find our social media links on there as well, and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts and Spotify as well.